Welcome to a bit different review. Not only I'm using some hard boots, but also the Kizer suspension frames. Yes, we upgraded and improved them. No more braking arms, but more about this in detail in a couple of seconds. First, let's start it with what those frames are made for. So yeah, we improved them, and I will tell a bit more about the experience with all the testing and stuff. Woo! But first, let's warm a bit up. They are also good for grinding. And just a super lovely experience. So, to explain a bit more about these frames, first let's dive a bit into specs. Because these frames are actually not only good for suspension, they are really well working flat frame on their own, because they come also, besides the arms, you can put them out, and they come with suspension arms like that and some extra rocket spacers, so you can use them as a flat frame, because the groove is actually inspired by the Aeon groove and is smoothed out on the edges, so it's like a broken in Aeon groove. And you can use the frames up to 65 millimeters if you rocket the spacer down, and 60 millimeters if you rocket them up like the arms. But also in anti you can actually go up to 72 if somebody's interested. And yeah, groove wise they're really smooth. It's a really pleasant experience. You barely get wheel bites, so they feel like a well broken in Aeon. To the arms and the bit other topic. So we've been going through a bit longer of a testing process, because after the reclaims and the problems with the arms, we actually tried not only different materials but also different ways of making the arms harder. Like, instead of only using casted metal, we also tried CNC, which worked amazing, but ended up almost being too rigid to get the screws and stuff, and obviously too expensive. It would drive the price up too crazy. So we ended up going back and forth and over and over and over through casted metal samples for the arms. Quick in between info, I kind of forgot it, but we will squeeze it in now. So these are the old arms that you can see even the cracks which broke when I tested new samples and versions of it. So we've been going through a lot of other ones of those, always broke them. Then we tried some CNC ones, which are amazing and lasted really well. Ended up being a bit too expensive, would have driven the price up. And also about the CNC ones, it was just harder to assemble them. There was less tolerance or something in the metal. It was hard to put them in line, exactly, and it was hard to get the screws easy in. And this is the product we ended up with. It's like an updated version of these, better metal, better shape. You can even see them. It's smoother than this piece of shit here. And now it's lasting well, it doesn't break. And with the updated one, it's easier to assemble them compared to these ones and compared to these ones. So you have a bit, let's say, less struggle putting them together like in the beginning. And after a while, we finally found some that was withstanding my gaps, and all the other people helped testing. And we tried to test them not only for, let's say, day-to-day stuff and bigger gaps, because let's be honest, not everybody is Chris Heffy doing Fakey 720s Donald Toro. Sometimes it's the small stuff that can also break arms if you land like a bit more awkwardly in a different position where the torque power is destroying them. So yeah, we ended up having a good solution. The price is not too high after the changes, and the arms are now lasting and not breaking anymore. So yeah, let's jump a bit more for the enjoyment and explain afterwards, boom, how they actually work. Most people kind of know already, because they're interesting, since the arms can move all separately. It's not like bridges. This arm and this arm can move separately. So depending on what option you use on them with the rubber, because the frames come with different rubber hardnesses, harder and softer ones. Harder ones are usually well if you want to have like a rigid straight line feel, not a lot of shakiness. And if you're a bit, let's say, heavier and taller, for the smaller people, we have the softer rubber. And I'm not as slim as I used to be nowadays, but I really enjoy the softer ones too, because for my kind of skating, it gives you this right amount of agile, quick turns and stuff, which I enjoy nowadays. Almost like a swivel kind of vibe. So yeah, I go for the softer rubbers. But yeah, depending on what you want, you can definitely choose between those and have a decent experience with them. And not much more to say. I think maybe let's end it with a big bang. And then we're done. Let's see what the biggest is. Wow! Some fun in between. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, I think I need to calm down before it gets too exciting for me. Whoa. Okay, let's aim for the biggest one and see what happens.